Hello there, welcome back to Language Professora. We're looking at literary devices, and today we are talking about similes. What is a simile? A simile is what we call, or one of what we call, a figure of speech, and the purpose of the simile is for comparison. So you're comparing two things, and you typically use the words as or like when you're making that comparison. Another thing that you want to know about similes is that usually you're comparing two or more nouns in a sentence, right? And you're doing the comparison using something that is known to bring out something that is not known. So, what you have to ensure is that the two things that are being compared, there is a similarity between the two. And I liken it to having a conversation with someone, and you want to use what they know to describe or tell them about something that they don't know. And to do that, you have to use a similar thread, that was a spoonerism, a similar thread or a similar quality that exists between the two things. So you're using the known to explain the unknown. You do this by using the words like or as. We have examples like as proud as a peacock, as busy as a bee. And so you using the second one, as busy as a bee, you may be trying to describe how someone is always on the go. And you say, Stacy, yes, man, she's always as busy as a bee. And the person knows what bees are like. Bees are always going, always flitting from flower to flower, always on the go. They don't stop. And so you get the essence. Oh, so this is what Stacy is like. She is a busy person. She's always on the go. Another thing that you want to know about a simile is that its purpose is to help the reader or the listener to visualize and have a better understanding of the two things that are being compared. It makes the language a lot more vivid, a lot more descriptive. In other words, similes can be used to provide a mental image so that the reader or the listener gets a picture perfect idea of what is being discussed. Some examples of similes that use as tall as a giraffe. So if you know what a giraffe is in terms of the height, you know how tall that person, maybe not as the exact height of the giraffe, but you get the idea that they are a pretty tall person. As sweet as sugar. And if you know how sugar tastes, you know that something else that maybe you're not so familiar with. So let us say that you are being presented with a dessert, and you want to know what it tastes like, and someone says it's as sweet as sugar. If you know what sugar tastes like, then you know without having tasted it what this dessert tastes like. As strong as an ox, as old as the hills. This is a good one. As cool as a cucumber. A cucumber or a cucumber, depending on how you choose to pronounce it, it's something that actually has a cooling impact on the body. That's why people put cucumber slices on their eyes. That's why when you drink cucumber juice, especially mixed with mint, it has a cooling, refreshing taste to it. As clear as a crystal, as tough as leather. Think about your leather shoes, right? That's how tough it is. Similes that use like. Having eyes like a hawk, runs like a horse, swim like a fish, climbs like a monkey, sleeps like a baby, fighting like cats and dogs. Well, my cats and dogs don't fight. Fall like teardrops. For each of these, you get the idea of something that is known, and you're bringing the comparison to something that is unknown. So using the second one, Stephen runs like a horse. You know how a horse runs, very fast, very majestically. So you get the idea or the image or the picture of how Stephen runs. Let's test your knowledge, right? As simple as that. We're going to identify the similes in these sentences. Let's go. My love is like a red rose. I want you to tell me what are the two things being compared. If you guessed that love is being compared to a red rose, you would be correct. That is where your simile is. My brother and I fight like cats and dogs all the time. What are the two things being compared? We're comparing how you and your brother fight to how cats and dogs fight. Isabel is always as busy as a bee. We kind of alluded to this one already. So this one is very easy. Isabel is being compared to a bee in terms of how busy she is. So the quality that we're looking for is the busyness of the individual. My cousin chatters like a monkey. The two things being compared is the cousin to the monkey, and the quality is the chattering. Kitty is as proud as a peacock. The two things being compared, Kitty, whoever Kitty is, and a peacock. And the quality is proud or pride. Stacy works like a sloth. The two things being compared is Stacy to a sloth. Now, I don't know how many of you may know what a sloth is, but it's an animal that moves very slowly. You can go look it up and do some research afterwards, but it moves at the speed of molasses. And even molasses is pretty much faster than it is. So when you're saying Stacy works like a sloth, you're really saying how slow Stacy works. My dog, Shadow, eats like a pig after I take him for a walk. The dog is being compared to a pig. Now, if you know anything about how a pig eats, it's very messy, very I'm trying to find the word. Not crude, but very messy, very sloppy. That's the word. So that's how the dog is eating. After he's taken for a walk, he eats like a pig. Stephen slept like a baby after working for 10 long hours. Think about how a baby sleeps. A baby sleeps with no disturbance, pretty much. A baby sleeps deeply. A baby sleeps comfortably. And that is how Stephen was sleeping, especially after a 10-hour shift. My father has eyes like a hawk. He finds out even the minutest of things. My father is being compared to a hawk. And a hawk has very keen vision. And the second sentence kind of adds to it, where it says he finds out even the minutest of things. Final one. Bob is as cunning as a fox. Now, if you know anything about foxes, they're pretty smart creatures. And so Bob is being compared to a fox, and the quality is that of being cunning, or you could say being very smart. How did you do with these? These were pretty easy, pretty simple, and that's all there is to know about similes. You're comparing two things. In the comparison, you're using the words as or like to bring the comparison to life, and you're comparing something that you know to something that you don't know, and there's a quality that is similar between the two things. That's about it. See you next time with the next literary device.